I would like to take a photo to show that MEWC stands with Israel. Who's taking the photo? Who's taking the photo? Who's taking the photo?
I think we have. Some are going to have to go behind. I'm going behind.
Martha, yes.
Martha.
Oh, Martha, get in here.
Wait.
Yeah.
I don't want her. Is everyone here?
Okay, very good. Wonderful.
Okay,
Thank you.
Somebody.
Stand with Ilhan Omar. You're welcome. We know what it
Oh my
is.
God. Oh my God. We had
something.
Can I ask you to please sit down? Please sit down.
Jewish values are to love the stranger.
Can I ask you to please sit down?
Place under arrest.
Equality.
Step out or I'm placed under
I
arrest.
stand with Ilhan.
Can I ask?
Mr. Barry,
Yes, sir.
I need you to stand by. Are you going to step out or we're going to place
Oh,
under
no, I'll
arrest?
step out, sure. I do stand with Ilhan.
Thank you. Can I please ask you to leave?
That is very radical.
very radical.
Everybody out.
Ilhan Omar.
We stand against Sharia law.
He told me you live in freedom of speech.
We do not stand with anyone like that.
You are radical.
This country was
You too.
started
Out.
When you don't allow
want
people
you
to
out now.
speak, you are
Out.
radical.
Out or I'll place you under
They
arrest.
invited me.
They
Muhammad
requested
invited
you
me to
to
stay.
out. She just asked you to
Invited
leave.
me to stay.
She just asked you to leave. If you do not leave, I will.
Can I please ask you to leave?
Are you asking her to leave?
If she disrupted,
I know, but we are asking you
Okay.
to leave
no, please.
because we said so.
She is welcome to stay so long as she's not disruptive.
I wasn't going to say anything. I told you I wasn't.
I know you wouldn't, so you're welcome to stay. Of course.
Thank you so
And
much.
I have a lovely Jewish family.
I know you do. I know you do.
Israel flag. One more time. Israel flag.
Jews.
We stand with Israel.
Yes.
Rabia Kazan, the president of MEWC.
Middle Eastern woman.
Come on, let's go.
Middle Eastern Women Coalition stand with Israel.
I think when people aren't given a right to speak,
Martha?
that is as
Yes.
radical as a yes.
Right, amen.
We're here to talk about anti-Semitism, and if this is the reaction, then we have a problem.
And this is happening on American soil.
I'm Jewish and do not stand with Ilhan Omar.
Yep. Thank you.
Stand with Israel. We stand with Israel.
Yes.
Faces over here.
Okay. Okay.
God bless Israel.
Thank you.
Why do you look so upset at what you're hearing?
Okay.
Because I was taught that Jews stand for justice.
We do. We do.
Jews stand for justice.
Yes, and human rights.
I agree.
And
Of course.
human rights are being violated in Israel, Palestine.
What
Being
about the
violated by
rest
the
of
Democrats.
Okay, so
Human
there
rights.
are a lot of speeches about what's happening, what's really happening in the Middle
Not
East.
Ren.
No, ma'am, I'm just
And we
here.
highly recommend to listen to all the speeches you're going to hear.
Let's just get started. Your speeches will speak for itself.
Happening in the Middle East. And trust me, I was born there and I'm from there.
Okay, we really need to get
Women and
started.
girls being sold into sexual slavery every single day in Middle East, Iran. Do you know that? Please
There is
just
sexual
we talk about
slavery in the United
injustice,
States.
talk about
I
rape,
think our
And
president
talk about
is
killing
grabbing
from Sharia
babies
law.
out of mothers' arms and using them
Negativity, why don't you
for
walk
sexual
out? No,
slavery.
we don't need your negativity. Why don't you walk on out and save yourself the humiliation?
I don't think this is humiliation.
Yes, I do.
I know that.
Okay.
Anybody else? We're getting out now.
Let's throw out the trash.
We stand for Israel.
We don't go into
Amen.
because that can happen very easily. Well, they don't play by the same rules. The rules don't apply.
That's right.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And again, thank you so much for coming out this morning. Before we start this press conference, I just want everyone who's new to Middle Eastern Women's Coalition to understand what this coalition is about. Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, or if you hear me refer to it as MEWC, is nationally recognized for fighting against Sharia law, female genital mutilation, child marriages, and honor killings in the Middle East and North Africa regions. Rabia Kazan, the president of Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, was just recognized at the Time Unity Conference in Atlanta by Senator Johnny Isaacson, I always butcher his last name, for her dedication for fighting against Sharia law. Middle Eastern Women's Coalition has called this press conference today to call on the resignation of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for using her platform to push forward anti-Semitic rhetoric and promote Sharia law and sympathize with terrorists. In the past few months, Representative Omar has come under fire from both Democratic and Republican House leadership, both condemning her many anti-Semitic remarks. Congresswoman Omar has said everything from politicians are bought off by Jewish interests and being all about the Benjamins to stating that Israel is hypnotizing the world. In 2015, Omar defended 6 Somalians attempting to join ISIS, which everyone in this room realizes is the deadliest terrorist group in the world.
That's right.
In 2016, she asked a federal judge for leniency against a Minnesota man who pledged his allegiance to ISIS. Most recently, Congresswoman Omar was announced as a keynote speaker to an event for Islamic Relief USA. Also on this flyer scheduled to speak was Yusuf Abdullah. Abdullah has publicly stated that martyrs who provide weapons to kill Jews are beautiful. Congresswoman Omar and her press team have publicly denied that they knew that Abdullah would be attending, despite the fact that they were both marketed and advertised on flyers for this event. Let me note that I am just touching the iceberg. Our first speaker is Martha Boneta. She is the Executive Vice President of Citizens for the Republic, which was founded by Ronald Reagan in 1977. She has not one, but 2 bills named after her, and is a nationally recognized policy advisor and commentator. So please join me in welcoming Martha Boneta.
Good morning. And thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today. It is such a privilege, and I'm truly honored to stand with the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, fighting for freedom for women all over the world. Before we go any further, I want to honor Rabia and the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition by creating I don't know where it went now. Did anybody see us? There was a silver. Oh, okay. Oops. All right. Well, so in any event, it's my privilege to present the first ever Rabia Kazan World Defender of Women Award. This is a Jefferson Cup, and it's my dream that every year the names of women that are awarded the World Defender of Women will be engraved on this, to where there's so many women's names all over this that we will have to acquire so many Jefferson's Cups to honor women like Rabia Kazan for the great work she does for women all over the world.
Oh, thank you.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you. I'm just having this award on behalf of millions of women who don't have a voice. Thank you, Martha Boneta.
Yes.
Thank you.
My pleasure. God bless you. Thank you. So I grew up not far from the nation's capital, and I grew up in a family where I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and I grew up in a family where my mom and my dad taught us that no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you can be anything you want in the United States of America. Am I right?
You are.
And yet, friends, we have a sitting member of Congress who is anti-Semitic. We have a sitting member of Congress, because of her hatred towards the Jewish people, is unable to see clearly. In fact, we have a sitting member of Congress who has now had not one, but 2 House resolutions written to condemn her anti-Semitism for the remarks that she made. And we all know who that is, don't we?
Yes.
It's Congresswoman Omar.
Yes.
There is no place in Congress for a representative who's anti-Semitic. And in fact, there is no place in Congress for anyone that has so much hatred for anybody, regardless of the color of their skin, their faith, what they believe in, or where they come from. And yet the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America, right here, right now, has a sitting member of Congress, Congresswoman Omar, who is anti-Semitic.
Yes.
It's an outrage, and it hurts the very fiber of who we are as a nation. We, the people, representing individuals from every walk of life, and yet we have a sitting member of Congress who has 2 separate House resolutions written condemning her anti-Semitism. It's clear that Congresswoman Omar, her hate that she has for the Jewish people is not going anywhere. And while this is not a partisan issue, the president has called for her resignation. Speaker Pelosi has called for her resolution. This is not a partisan issue. This is about the American people. It's about the very fiber, the spirit of who we are as American people. Congresswoman Omar should not be allowed to serve on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. It is unacceptable to have a sitting member of Congress on the House Foreign Affairs Committee who has made such egregious anti-Semitic statements, who's unable to control her hatred for the Jewish people. How can we have a sitting member of Congress on the House Judiciary Foreign Affairs Committee who is blatantly anti-Semitic? I'm here to stand with the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition here today, and I stand with them in their position demanding the resignation of Congresswoman Omar. Because Congresswoman Omar does not represent our American values. She doesn't represent who we are as the American people. She doesn't represent truth, justice, or the American way. And she doesn't represent millions of American women from sea to shining sea. And she does not represent me. Join me. Rise up, stand up, and join me. Join me in demanding that Congresswoman Omar resign and that she be removed from the House Judiciary Committee on Foreign Affairs. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rabia Kazan. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Okay, we also have another very special guest with us this morning. Forgive me for using my phone. She has an incredible bio, so I want to make sure I get this right. Our next speaker is an international Native Assyrian human rights activist. Born in Iraq, she fled persecution and oppression, which resulted in the genocide of nearly her entire family. She has since dedicated her time and energy educating the global public in her home country. Naren serves as the Director of Special Projects for MEWC and speaks today of implications of radical ideology.
Thank you so much, Christiane. Thank you all for being here and for helping to fight for this issue that I don't think a lot of Americans understand how serious it truly is. As a Native Assyrian human rights activist, I advocate for the Native Christians, and especially women and children in the Middle East from facing an upcoming extinction. I survived the Assyrian genocide in Iraq that has no end date. By leaving our home and everything behind, we have suffered over 100 genocides. because we don't have an Assyrian Christian state in Iraq yet. If anyone knows about genocide, it is myself and my vulnerable and dying native people in Iraq and Syria. As you know, today, there are less than 200,000 Christians left in Iraq, where at one point we were over 20 million in our homelands. The whole Middle East was prosperous because of Christianity and the real free will. Without being politically correct, my friends, and I'm just speaking the truth from many generations of experience, I'm very saddened to say these genocides have happened because of radical Islam. I understand that this is a very sensitive topic for many, and especially for Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota's 5th District. I was born in the Middle East and from Iraq, and I do have friends who are Muslims. The ones I am friends with even understand the real threat that's happening in Minnesota. I had to see what Ilhan is harboring and not addressing the red flags of the initiation of Sharia law in her district on American soil. Similar to the terrorists she defended and other terrorists from Minnesota's hometown who took parts in the genocide by becoming suicide bombers, and they were described as dying on the battlefield. And this is against my people in Iraq who she's supporting. Ilhan, how dare you defend the 6 Somalis in 2015 who were trying to cross into Mexico in an attempt to join ISIS so they can murder my people in Iraq and Syria. As their case had moved forward in 2016 in hopes that our judicial system would find justice and put them behind bars, she wrote a letter to the trial judge demanding compassion and a lighter sentence. A representative of our country asking for a lighter sentence for terrorists. My friends, Ilhan wrote, "The best deterrent to fanatics is a system of compassion." Really, Ilhan? The best deterrent to fanatics is a lighter compassion? This is how we deal with people like Osama bin Laden? You want to show compassion to terrorists who have destroyed 125 of our churches in Iraq alone and coldly slaughtered thousands of innocent Christians and other minorities under the mask of ISIS. But this is just a mask today for that same ideology. You reason, Ilhan, with terrorists, which makes you a threat to our very American national security. In my eyes and from my knowledge and what I have seen and through my investigations, this would only make her an accomplice of genocidal acts by sympathizing with terrorists and feeling mercy for terrorists. Ilhan, does this not mean that you think Daesh or ISIS attacks against Christians is a victory? Ilhan, and trust me when I have many friends who are Muslims, but they have real reason. You proudly wear your hijab or your scarf in the U.S., while we as women are persecuted in our countries in the Middle East under the Sharia law for wearing crosses. My cross as a child was ripped off my neck because I'm an Assyrian Christian. Where is your outrage? Where is your outrage, Ilhan, for real women's rights? And what about what your brothers have been doing to our people for centuries? My great-grandmother watched pregnant women get stabbed in the abdomen. Stabbed in the abdomen right in front of her, and she was my only surviving family member. Babies pulled out of their stomachs. This was not too long ago, my friends. This is less than 100 years ago. All because my family was Christian. My great-grandfathers were crucified on crosses. Did you think it ended in Jesus Christ's time? My great-grandfather was crucified on crosses because they wore solid gold crosses, because they were Syrians and Christians. Let me guess, Ilhan, did you consider their killers as freedom fighters? Did you want compassion for those terrorists? I would be thrown in bomb bunkers with my siblings when radical Islam terrorists would roam through our towns. wanting to kidnap young girls, and so many of our Christian brothers and sisters were brutally killed because we were so vulnerable under the Sharia law that even their own Muslims were vulnerable under the Sharia law, and many were killed. The Middle East has gone back 1,000 years, and maybe even more, because of mentalities like yours, Ilhan. How dare you speak about genocide, Ilhan? Ilhan, as an American, as an Assyrian, as a Christian, who has made the United States of America my safe haven, I am extremely concerned about your district's ties to international terrorism and beyond frightened of your 5th district being the terrorism recruitment capital of the United States of America. I had to see your district with my own eyes before I believed anything and witness what is actually happening right here in one of our states in Minnesota. Ilhan, you grilled Venezuela's envoy, Elliot Abrams, during the hearing in the Foreign Affairs Committee, which I found to be very interesting in the words you were asking. You said to him, under your watch, a genocide took place, and you looked the other way because American interests were being upheld. Without even giving him an opportunity to answer you, you also said, this is a fair question, and the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country that we think about our actions can be and our values are being advanced. I believe you made a big mistake by misrepresenting the subject of pure genocide. How dare you bring up the subject of genocide consistently when you support Sharia law, which has brought my people to a near extinction. What the American people really need to know is that under the Sharia law, my people are hung, raped, crucified, purged off of our indigenous homelands that we've been on for almost 7,000 years and unjustly executed for having a crime of being Native and being Christian. Ilhan Omar, you don't hold the real perpetrators of genocide accountable because you are linked to them. While we allow women to be included in our society in America, in Sharia law, ruled countries, women are traded in mass sex slavery. Just imagine one of these women are your mothers, your sisters, your daughters. That is the only way we can help Americans understand what a real threat this is when they actually think this can happen to one of their family members. And that's when reality hits you. Women and young girls are raped regularly if they even show skin, and that is not acceptable under the Sharia law. I have cousins and family members and that were called whores because they showed this part of their arm in Iraq. Imagine, in a country where one day they were wearing miniskirts. It is truly because of people like Ilhan when the government is infiltrated and it starts this way, because it happened in Iraq and it happened against us. Iraq used to be a country where Jews lived freely, where Assyrian Christians lived freely, where even Armenians were there, and even moderate Muslims lived until Sharia law took place and everyone was affected. This is a threat to all Americans, and Americans truly need to understand that this will affect you one day if you don't make a change right now. People like myself who have known and know what it is about to witness a genocide and seen how the signs of genocide actually start. I am demanding for your resignation, Ilhan, so that people like you never attack the real victims of genocide and the descendants of genocide. On March 14th, 2016, Congress passed by a historic undivided 393 votes to 0 House Continuing Resolution 75, recognizing the ongoing genocide of Christians and other religious minorities under ISIS, as Ilhan's 5th district was the terrorist recruitment capital of the country. How did Americans vote her in? I'm not sure. My question to Congress is, why did you all sign unanimously? Why did you all sign to protect us from a genocide when some of you are supporting representatives like Ilhan Omar right here on our American soil and showing compassion for terrorists who were caught in her district? If my own brother is caught as a terrorist, I will put him in jail. Let alone you are catching terrorists in your own district and you're asking the judge for a lighter sentence. What happened to my people in Iraq and Syria cannot be reversed unless a state is given to them. But we are here because of God to give you a warning as Americans. We are here to tell you this is coming here and it is here and it will affect you. It will affect everyone. It will even affect the moderate Muslims in America. You will see your daughters get beheaded. Okay, I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of families of all religions, everyone that was affected by the genocide in Iraq. And they watched family members get executed right in front of them. And that's when reality hit them and they knew it was too late and that Sharia law had taken full control of that country, the cradle of civilization. And Ilhan, I will not stop until you resign. Your anti-Semitism is unacceptable. Okay, your ties to terrorism, your possible ties and your sympathy for radicals is unacceptable. You need to resign now. As someone born in the Middle East, that grew up in the Middle East, you need to resign right now. Well, your behavior is unacceptable. And I think what is more unacceptable are all the American congressmen and senators who are supporting her, knowing what is happening in Minnesota's 5th district. And if you don't know, I highly advise you to take a trip to Minnesota's 5th district and you will see what's happening. You won't even think you're in America. God bless you. God bless the United States. And thank you, Rabia, for holding us all together and for having this event.
Okay, our next speaker is someone I brought up earlier this morning. Rabia Kazan is, of course, as many of you know, is the president of the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition. She is an award-winning women's rights activist, an author, and was an executive at President Trump's National Diversity Coalition, and is here today to talk to you about her story and everything that she's accomplished as a women's rights activist. So please help me, join me in welcoming Rabia Kazan.
Thank you so much. Dear press members and other honorable guests, thank you for joining us today. We were planning to only celebrate International Women's Day today. However, we could not ignore the threats made by Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. It is urgent that we demand the resignation of a woman who has caused a lot of security concerns in this country. I am asking today all political members of Congress and Senate to stand with us today because Middle Eastern Women's Coalition are very aware of radical ideology and threats of Sharia law in United States. We believe Ilhan Omar has a radical personal agenda, and we also feel she encourages anti-Semitism, which is unacceptable. We question her political loyalty to American people, and we believe there needs to be formal investigation against her immediately.
Bravo! Bravo!
As you know, Middle Eastern Women's Coalition is actively fighting for women's rights, and we are trying to educate people and create awareness of Sharia law. Sharia law coming into this country, maybe you don't know, but this is truth. That's why we have to take an action before it's too late. I have experienced so many horrible crimes against humanity under the Sharia law. Women and children are suffering. Girls being forced into sexual slavery every single day. Forced into genital mutilation. Women are beaten, sometimes even stoned to death. I have witnessed a woman's face in Iran after men throw acid on her face because she didn't obey her husband. Women have no rights. Women are treated worse than animals. As a victim of Sharia law, I chose to remove my hijab. Then I received death threats from Middle East. That's why I'm fighting for innocent young girls. But ladies and gentlemen, women like Ilhan Omar would never mention this crime against humanity under the Sharia law. My personal views, she is misleading Americans and empowering radical ideology. She promotes Sharia law. Why is she not defending true victims? Because women are suffering in her native country, Somalia. She's not going to mention this. She never even mentions how women are treated in Somalia and Middle East. Where is she on International Women's Day? You're not going to see it. Under the Sharia law, women are sold, beaten, killed, and homosexuals are murdered simply because they are gay. Instead of their constant attacks against our president, I want to call out to Ilhan Omar to immediately resign because she has gone too far with her hate. I want to call out all American women on this beautiful, 2 days later, it's going to be International Women's Day. I want to call all women in the United States because you really don't know how lucky you are. You have freedom. Women in Middle East don't. You can marry whom you love. You can wear anything you want. You can choose your future. You don't have to cover your face. You are not slave to your husband. And important, you are actually have a voice. I'm talking today on behalf of millions of women who don't have a voice. An American woman, please, keep it that way. You have a freedom. And I also want to thank the President Trump for giving us voice today. And thank you for everyone here hearing our voice. Thank you so much.
Okay. Our next speaker is someone we all know very well, George Kaler. He is an author. He is the co-founder of the Tea Party and the host of Tea Time in Virginia. So please join me in welcoming George Kaler.
Thank you. This is going to be a little bit different. Well, one thing, I'm not a woman up here. I'm not from the Mideast. In fact, I'm a 75-year-old farm boy from Pennsylvania, Dutch country, outside Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. By the way, if you've noticed the weather out there, the groundhog said it's going to be an early spring. Well, when I get up there, I'm going to shoot that thing because it told us a big lie. You can get Tea Time at teawithgeorge.com, find out what it's about. And I talk a lot on the subjects we're talking about today. But before I begin, I want to talk on a subject that's pretty dear to me. I was raised on a Pennsylvania Dutch farm in an era of America that couldn't believe what would be 70 years later, what we have now. what these ladies have been talking about. I wrote a book on the subject. It's My Life, 1949 to 1956, Surviving Georgie. And it's the only book, I think, ever published that has been spoken well about by Focus on the Family, Liberty University, and Saturday Night Live. It's one of the funniest books ever written. But it's mainly about that era. And I think one of the reasons it's selling so well is because I omitted one farm chore that we farm boys had to do. And that was gelding the stallions and neutering the bulls, which we did to make them docile and non-dangerous. I thought about that again when Jeff Sessions recused himself and became impotent and docile and didn't stand against the tyranny of the Democrats. Adam Schiff, Mueller, Comey, and so on. One thing, Al Franken did it. He's not even a farm boy. In fact, in our day, we would have called boys like him pansies. And yet, Jeff Sessions was rendered impotent so easily. And what I think is we need some people in the GOP that will stand up, those who haven't been gelded, and fight for justice, fight to support and defend President Trump. Hoda Uthama was raised in the town where my wife came from, Birmingham, Alabama. She came here from Yemen, but then she left America to join ISIS, to fight against America. She did videos urging America's Muslims to rent big trucks, run into crowds and kill people, assassinate our president. And you would think that she would be a villain in everybody's eyes. She certainly is in this crowd. But America's left claims it's authoritarian to ban her. And they want us to accept Hoda's return. Why? I don't know. ISIS beheaded, crucified, and burned to death thousands, tens of thousands of Christians across the Mideast. They sold women into prostitution. But I'm wondering where America's feminists are on this one. I didn't hear one complaint. Where was Code Pink about that? Instead of in here screaming. They threw gays off of buildings just for fun. Where was America's LGBT community protesting that instead of spewing hatred towards little boys wearing MAGA hats? Then last year, the Justice Democrats, have you heard of them? They created more mischief for America than I believe anybody has in perhaps 50 years. They financed, recruited 7 successful candidates into Congress, all socialists, and including Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. The Muslim Brotherhood, in their own hands, gave a mission a while back. They said that believers must do what's called civilization jihad, that is politics. That we must understand that the believers' work in America is to destroy Western civilization. That would be all of us. On my tea time, I got a fan letter from Tehran. I thought, well, fan letter from Tehran. It said, we read you in Tehran. How do you know so much about the Quran? Then he went on to say, it's not that we hate America and Jews per se, but you are standing in our way of our holy war to eradicate the Jews. I wrote back, God isn't going to allow you to do that. They're God's chosen people. They're still God's chosen people. I worship a Jew, Jewish carpenter, as a matter of fact. Being a farm boy, I like the idea of that. Well, in the interest of time, we're going to name just 2 of the people that I really, really don't like. One is Rashida, impeach that mother, blankety blank, Tlaib, who said the filthiest word imaginable, the most denigrating word imaginable. She voted illegally in a district that wasn't her own, and then ran illegally because she doesn't live there in the 12th district in Minnesota, in Michigan. And yet she's in Congress. But she's a Democrat, she's a Muslim, and someone willing to use filthy language. What are the chances that she's going to be disowned or even disciplined by America's feminists, by the Democrats, by progressives? And then we have somebody you've already mentioned today. Her name is Ilhan Omar. She just goes by Omar, Democrat, Michigan, a Somalian Muslim, making disparaging comments about the Jews. This is something dear to my heart because America imported tens of thousands of Somalians, and I needed to move my daughter out of her neighborhood because all of a sudden it was Sharia in her neighborhood, burqas. They weren't assimilating. Set my retirement back 2 years. But it was worth it because now they're safe. Their home hasn't been broken into again. And they haven't assimilated except for running for office, which is part of the Muslim Brotherhood's war on Western civilization. It's part of political jihad, as they call it. When we went to Somalia to help the people there, they killed our people. Did you see Black Hawk Down? They killed our people. So we imported them here instead. You ever wonder why about that? Nothing against Somalians, but I was biking with a girl from Morocco. She was staying at our bed and breakfast. And as we got our bikes off the truck, we took off on our bicycles, and she said, "Mr. George, you did not lock your truck." I said, "There's no need. This is Lynchburg, Virginia. We don't lock." She said, "What if a Somalian comes through?" I thought, ooh, they got a bad reputation. Well, Somalians have come through. Omar's come through. Yemenis have come. And they're being recruited and financed for office by Justice Democrats. Considering the rigors of Sharia law, what kind of justice do they want for Americans? By the way, you can buy the book at Amazon or survivinggeorgie.com, and I hope you enjoy reading it, and thank you for listening to me today.
Okay, we have a young woman here with us this morning, Dalia Zagar. She is a bright student at Columbia University. Actually, after coming to the United States 3 years ago, she founded a coalition at Columbia University working to fight against anti-Semitism. So please join me in welcoming Dalia Zagar.
Good morning. I'm honored to be here today standing in front of all of you. And I would like to thank the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition for creating this platform. I am beyond thrilled to have the opportunity with this group of women who represent my geographic roots and what leadership should look like. I look forward to many more opportunities to collaboration between us, women of the Middle East, to work towards real change in our region. I feel very lucky today to be from Israel. But that is not what I am here to discuss today. I am here to speak about a growing issue in America, which is personally hunting me and should worry all of you and be a warning sign. This is not about politics. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs spoke in the House of Lords and said, "We forgot how small beginnings lead to truly terrible endings. 1,000 years of Jewish history in Europe added certain words to the human vocabulary. Forced conversion, inquisition, expulsion, ghetto, pogrom, Holocaust. They happened because hate went unchecked. No one said stop. And that is why I'm here today. I'm asking you to say stop. I will fight with all my might to make sure that the oldest hate in history, anti-Semitism, will not win in America. In order to fight anti-Semitism, we must first learn how to recognize the new face of this old hate. Today, anti-Semites found a path to normalize what in fact is the hatred of the Jew through blaming the only Jewish state for all the wrongdoings in the world. One may criticize Israel as they wish, but it is when you criticize only Israel and hold only the Jewish state to a higher standard than all the rest is when the purpose is clear. This is evident today across America, and definitely where I practice my activism, college campuses. I co-founded a chapter of the organization Students Supporting Israel in Columbia University once I realized the dire need for one. Thank you. After growing up in Israel and serving my country through the military, I found out the new form of service is needed here, in this country. Columbia, like Berkeley and many others, is a hotbed for professors who preach hate. Here are a few examples. One professor posted on his public Facebook page that behind every horrible thing in the world, if you wait a few minutes, Israel's ugly name will come up. Another professor chose to teach about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict with a mandatory reading of a book called The Invention of the Jews, claiming Jews are invented people with no connection to their historical homeland. This is merely the beginning. I can share with you stories about harassment, demonization, bullying, and many more of pro-Israel students who choose to stand up for indigenous rights. Today, we are here to speak about Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar represents the modern face of anti-Semitism, just like those I face on campus. By casually tweeting the anti-Semitic statements about Jewish money controlling the United States government, in other words, she's practically reviving the oldest prejudices. By enhancing such statements with public support of the BDS movement, which was outlawed by about 24 states because it was found anti-Semitic, which was publicly opposed by the president of Cornell University, which the Prime Minister of France decided he will enact a law claiming that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Against it. All this public hate, and Ilhan Omar is still in Congress. All this public hate, and she is still part of the leadership in this country. It is time to recognize those beginnings and stop hate on time. Do not let this country become another Europe in its neglect of the Jewish people. Let us not forget, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. Do not turn a blind eye believing this does not concern you. Hate is hate. Bigotry is bigotry. And we must fight it and act against it in all its shapes and forms. Allow me to conclude with the way I started with Rabbi Sachs, who said, "We do not hate the Jews," they said in the Middle Ages, "just their religion. We do not hate the Jews," they said in the 19th century, "just their race. We do not hate the Jews," they say now, "just their nation state." Do not let the new anti-Semites fool you. It is the old hate in a new disguise. The consequences could be unimaginably severe for everyone in America. History has shown us this time and again. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker was an ordained minister in the Middle East for 35 years. She firsthand witnessed the barbaric acts done under Sharia law. Upon returning to the United States, she co-founded Servant Group International, a nonprofit organization that has grown substantially over the years and is now serving as Middle Eastern Women's Coalition Executive Director. Please join me in welcoming Marilyn Matriciana.
Good morning, everybody. Well, for 35 years, as Christiana said, I was in the foreign Middle East. I lived there part of the time and went back and forth the other part of the time. I was on the Afghan-Pakistani border where the refugees poured into Pakistan. One day, visiting the camps, when a lady walks out from her husband was in the house, she walks out to hang up her laundry. Her dubuta falls off. Her husband sees her wave to the neighbor. He comes and chops her head off, throws it to the neighbor, and says, "If you want my wife, there she is." So, this is what we face with radical Islam. I believe Ilhan Omar was groomed to come inside and through our government to promote Sharia law in the United States of America. She attacks the very country that gave her asylum. She says, we need to impeach the president. What arrogance. Our country was built on biblical principles, and our president supports that, and he's fighting for our freedom. She promotes Sharia law, and I'll tell you why I say this. Sharia law people are astute in fraudulism activity to bypass laws to get our nation's advantages, loans for college, for instance, as Omar did. There are records of loans for college and marriage certificates that prove her past. Where's the FBI? Where's the INS?
Yes.
Where are the Secret Service and other investigators to investigate her?
Right.
Roger Stone was investigated, and he had no criminal record at all.
Yes.
Sharia law calls Americans infidels. They rationalize all they do fraudulently in the name of the Islamic regime. Omar does not represent the United States of America. She does not care about black Americans either. Give me a break. Apology after apology. That's what she does. She says something and then she apologizes. Her stand against Israel is not only anti-Semitic, it's a full-on terrorism. It's documented she has supported terrorist organizations through the IRW, and there are entities of that. It has a history of supporting Hamas and Brotherhood. The IRUSA is the largest charity for Islam in the whole West. $80 million has been given from the West for Islamic regime activities, for ISIS activities. The United Arab Emirates said the IRA is a terror organization because of links to Brotherhood. Omar supported Witness for Peace, which supported socialism and regimes like Venezuela, Cuba, who come against Israel, our ally. She tweets 3 times against Israel and the Jews, and then she deletes them. Apology, blah, blah, blah. Can she be a congressman and a U.S. representative and in the House of Foreign Affairs Committee? Phyllis Khan, a Democrat, said of Omar, she was married to 2 men at the same time. One brother for her and his benefit to get a loan for college and get him in the country. Do we now accept bigamist and fraudulent activity? By the way, these 3 people, her 2 husbands, had the same address in Fargo, North Dakota. Where are the investigations? Where are they? There's been no investigations that I know of. We make a plea to investigate.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
29 FBI circle Roger Stone's home with frogmen, with a helicopter, with armored vehicles. This is a shame, a disgrace.
Yes.
He had no criminal record. We say be politically correct. Let's not be racist. This country was built on the Constitution, not Somalian principles, not Islamic regime principles. What Omar has done about crime in Minnesota, what has she done? I wonder. All the Somalians, Obama brought in something like 50,000, I believe it was, he brought in to Minnesota. And there's terrible crime there. And by the way, she hasn't done anything about the legalization of prostitution. The Somalis are fighting for legalization of the prostitution. What is she doing about that? What has Omar done but fuel the fire? Was she placed here by the radicals? Of course she was. 2012, in Obama's reign, she stated, Israel has hypnotized the world. What is the agenda? FBI, INS, United Citizens. We need to call for a full-out investigation. Contrary to public opinion and hate-biased news, President Trump is a champion for women's rights.
She promised she wouldn't do that.
You know they're liars right now?
Yeah, right. Okay, let's not give that any more attention than it needs. Let's not give that any more attention than it needs. Okay, Middle Eastern Women's Coalition is blessed to have such an incredible woman as the vice president. She was once the victim of an arranged marriage. Ola Hawat is now the CEO of Ola Style, a celebrity stylist, and was awarded the top businesswoman in St. Louis. So please join me in giving her a warm welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. I am terrible with notes. I speak from the heart. Thank you for that. As she stated, I'm a fashion designer, and you're probably wondering, here's a fashion designer, top businesswoman. You know, what is she doing here?
Looking good, telling the truth.
As a Middle Eastern American, the greatest gift that I was given is being a United States citizen.
Amen.
Born and raised here in the United States. So you take someone like Ilhan Omar, who was given the privilege to be a citizen, and turn it around and create such hatred that comes out of her mouth. So I got a lot of backlash coming here, and they were saying, as a Middle Eastern, you know, what kind of coalition do you have speaking against her? She's a Middle Eastern. I don't want anyone that's going to stand up, you know, giving a platform that she's been given and turn it into hate. You want to attack Israel? Not only am I honored to be a United States citizen, but I love Jerusalem, Israel.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
the influence. You take the most influential country and turn them, you know, create war with them. Their influence that they've had in the United States of America, I'm grateful for. I'm thankful for. And so I'm here asking her and hoping that she will resign.
Yes.
Because she has no right being in the position she's in. And the statements that she makes. Can you imagine if she was in Somalia making the statements she makes?
With their head on.
Can you imagine? And then criticizing when Trump tweeted asking her to resign. You know, she apologized twice, but then the third time, she commented back at him saying, you know, attacking President Trump, attacking the President of the United States. She would never do that in Somalia. She's out of touch with our country. We want people who respect the value of our country and the history of ideal making laws. She's not that. Saying Trump is a hypocrite. The only hypocrite I see is her.
Come on.
Everything that comes out of her mouth. Saying Senator Lindsey Graham is being blackmailed by the White House. Making comments, tweeting, members of Congress are paid by the American Israel Public Affairs Committee to support Israel. And on and on. What if Trump was to make comments? When he tweets, he gets so much against him. And she has the freedom to tweet. And you should see how many thousands of people who are so brainwashed and arrogant that support her and promote her. And nothing's being done.
Right.
And as you said, her criminal history, being arrested, her stubbornness, perjury, allegations that Omar committed perjury in her divorce 2017. She had no marriage contract. And then being married to two men, one who being her brother, and when asked about birth certificates, saying, there aren't any. Really? Okay, then they let it go. How come no one's following through? Where's her history? Campaign finance questions? Spending thousands of dollars for personal travel. In fact, spending thousands of dollars on her divorce. And these are facts. But guess what? Nothing is being done. She still has the platform. And why is this? Why is nothing being done about it? Violation state house rules when she accepted speaking engagements for money. She got paid for speaking engagements. Later on, she apologized and gave the money back. But doesn't this show her character? It's not about, and then she turns it around saying, well, it's because I am a Muslim, and that is why I'm being attacked. So she can have all these Muslims, for her. It's not, no. The only person, she creates segregation, she creates hate, she creates anger. And that is why I'm here today, asking her to resign. I stand with not only Middle Eastern women, but every female proud to be a United States citizen.
Yes.
She takes that for granted.
Yes, she does.
Thank you so much for you guys being here and having me talk on regards to this issue. My parents are they're proud of me, but not all family members are. They attacked me for being here today, sending me texts. Why are you doing this? Because not only do I stand up for myself, but I stand up for my country. If I don't stand up and we don't stand up together, this is going to continue. And the outcome isn't going to be nice. And I love my country too much to allow this to happen. Thank you.
Kaylee Long here.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I have been ill recently, so I'm going to be as strong as I can in this speech. So bear with me if my voice is shaky. On February 13th, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar accused the United States and our military personnel of perpetrating genocide. She referred to a genocide that occurred, it was a massacre, in El Salvador in the 80s. It was the El Mazota massacre. And she accused us of being the perpetrators of that, and then she made a call for justice before Congress. Earlier, she again solicited this claim as the U.S. being a guilty party of genocide when she said that if we did not reduce the sentence on 9 Islamic State terrorists who were arrested in Minnesota, then we would be guilty, the United States of America would be guilty of the future terroristic acts committed by those fighters. She's also called for the world to awake against the evils of Israel, blaming the United States for crimes which she said exist in our support of Israel. And then she again paraded the concept and the plea for her idea of justice. I agree with the Congresswoman that America has lost its compass for what is right and what is wrong, that America has traded truth for lies and called darkness light and light darkness, but not in the areas to which she's accusing us. Because the truth is, what happened in El Salvador is that there were 800 civilians killed, and there were 12-year-old girls that were raped and murdered, but they were not killed by American military personnel. The truth is United States Marines were killed by the same Salvadoran guerrillas that killed those civilians. Yet nobody has called her out in these false claims, not even the man that she was accusing them of. The truth is that the Islamic State fighters in the Al-Sham are the bad guys, and we are the good guys. And the truth is that I'm done, and we should all be done, cowering to their threats. We should not be afraid to execute true justice and putting them where they deserve, prison for life or other capital punishment. We should not be scared of their future terrorism. We should fight against it. The truth is, Israel is one of the only countries in the Middle East, while there are others, where I as a woman can feel safe, where I as a woman can own a business, where I as a woman can exercise my full destiny and dignity in everything that God of the universe has created me to be. The truth is, the U.S. is perpetrating injustice, but not the kind of injustice that she has manipulated us to believe is true. Yes, the U.S. has been involved in the killing of innocent people, but those killings are the very genocides that she and her colleagues promote. First, we have been involved in hurting innocent people in this country's relentless pursuit of killing preborn girls and boys through abortion. This country has been involved in killing people as we turn our eyes to honor killings perpetrated by radical Islamic believers here in the U.S. as women and young girls are killed for stepping out and exercising their constitutional and God-given rights to believe or be or exercise whatever they choose to. So, Congresswoman Omar, it's to you and because of you, I feel the guilt of my country, not the guilt of a worldwide genocide. The United States has been the champion on the Hill. It's because of us we won World War II. It's because of us the Holocaust stopped. It's because of us so many people oppressed people throughout the continent of Africa, Europe, Asia, can now live in semi-freedom. We are not the perpetrators of global genocide unless you want to admit our guilt in abortion and our guilt, your guilt, and turning aside what needs to be addressed with honor killings here in the United States. I was so disheartened when I heard the Congresswoman call my country out for being a perpetrator of genocide. I was so confused. How far have we fallen that in one breath, the same woman can argue that not only should we allow preborn children to be crushed, but if they are able to survive abortion, this same woman votes that they should be left on a table to die. And not only this, but the same woman denies or refuses to call out the suffering women in this country and abroad who are suffering under Sharia law? How can one breath can she promote the evil of abortion, the genocide of abortion, and then the another breath accuse us, our same Marines that were rescuing people, of the crime against the people they were fighting? How can this same woman say that we are the perpetrators of global genocide, yet in the same breath promote abortion and refuse to condemn Sharia law? When I was listening to her speech, this chapter came to mind, Isaiah 59. Verse 9 says, "So justice is far from us, and righteousness does not reach us. We look for light, but all is darkness, and for brightness, but we walk in deep shadows. Like the blind, we grope along the wall, feeling our way like men without eyes. We look for justice, but find none, for deliverance, but it is far away. For our offenses are many in your sight, and our offenses testify against us. Turning our backs on God, fomenting oppression and revolt, uttering lies that our hearts have made up. So justice is driven back. Truth has stumbled in the streets. Truth is nowhere to be found. The Lord looked at this and was displeased that there was no justice. He saw that there was none, and he was appalled. So his own arm worked salvation for him. For your hands are stained with blood, so surely the arm of the Lord is not too short to save, nor his ear too dull to hear." I want to say, yes, I agree with the Congresswoman. The U.S. has its issues, and we have come against innocent people through abortion and through our neglect of calling out Sharia law and its abuses to women. But those sins are the sins of the Democratic Party. Yep. And I will bear responsibility for them, because every day I wake up, I think, what more could I have done, or what more can I do to fight against this? So I beg for God's mercy for what we're doing. But I'll tell you this, our sins are not the sins that she is referencing. She's calling what we do right wrong, and what we do wrong right. She's confusing them. And so, yes, I would love for the Congresswoman to resign, but unfortunately I think her arrogance makes that somewhat impossible. But this is what I do call for. She's going to be up for re-election in 2020 in November. You have an obligation as an American who represents the ideas of an American, that is life, liberty, and property, and justice for all, true justice. You have an obligation of someone who can call right from left and left from right, and can agree that 2 + 2 = 4, and man is man, and woman is woman. If you are someone who wants to preserve the nature of this country, the nature of objectivity and truth, then you have an obligation to support her Republican opposition candidate in 2020. If you're in Minnesota, vote her out. If you're not, support the candidate that is going against her. And this is why I have hope in this country. Because traditionally and historically, the United States has been a city on a hill. We are the champions of freedom. We are the victors for the helpless. We have rescued people from genocides. We are the one country that understands every individual has a right to life, has a right to liberty. And because of that, I look forward to the day that in this country, Sharia law is not only illegal, but it is sought out. I look forward to the day in this country where little Muslim girls don't have to worry about not telling her friend at school what's going on at home. I look forward to the day in this country when each Muslim little girl can marry who they choose at the age that they want to choose, that they can go to school, that they can read whatever book that they want to read. I look forward to that day. I look forward to the day when we can all be proud Americans. I look forward to the day when we'll stand up for each one, pre-born, born, man, woman, child. Freedom to believe what you want as long as it doesn't come against the true justice, and that is the preservation of each individual's rights, no matter who they are, where they are, what they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. She was really sick and she just came here to share the voice. Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, stand with Israel. Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, call Ilhan Omar to resign because we don't have no tolerance to anti-Semitism. And we don't have no tolerance promotes Sharia law. Sharia law is a crime against humanity. And right now, our director, Nahran Envaya, gonna give close statement. Thank you so much.
What a passionate event. I would also like to acknowledge in the room Dr. Randy Short of Washington, D.C., Governor of Gone Too Far movement and human rights defender for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Short, for being here with us. I believe in America we have forgot what the real meaning of anti-Semitism is and what it can actually spark up. Just as being an example in a country where anti-Semitism really emerged and led to the annihilation of the Jewish people in Iraq. What anti-Semitism must be remembered as every single day that we breathe in America is that it is a whistle-blowing strategy to restart the Holocaust. America, please, as brothers and sisters, all as Americans, no matter what your religion is or your background or your color, let us remember that we are in on this together to stop this hate. And just recently, one of my colleagues, the breaking news is Congress is delaying the vote on anti-Semitism that's meant to condemn Omar. On behalf of the Middle Eastern Women's Coalition, we would like to thank you all for standing with us. Let us secure our homeland of the United States of America, truly your safe haven. And let us stand up against people like Ilhan Omar. She's just an example of the face of hate against a group of a minority that is so defenseless in the Middle East, that is attacked every single day. Our national security is not negotiable. Our women's rights are mandatory. And anti-Semitism leads to all women's rights taken away. It is an attack against an entire group of people. Imagine the hate behind that. Let us never lose these standards we have established for women as Americans. Thank you all. God bless you all. And let us please stop this woman, Ilhan Omar. You need to resign right now.
Okay, as we close, I would just like to give everyone a call to action, and it's something that everyone in this room can do. Please go to mewomenscoalition.com and become a member. It's free, but we're actively putting things out there that everyone can do to help fight for women's rights in the Middle East and North Africa regions. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to come out this morning, and God bless you all.